The sun continues to rise, slowly and without effort, as if it has all the time in the world. Its light spreads gently across the fields, touching each blade of green, each patch of dark soil. The shadows grow shorter, but they do not disappear all at once. They fade quietly, just like the night before them. The man works without thinking too much. His hands move in a pattern they have known for years. Press, lift, smooth. Press, lift, smooth. Each motion follows the one before it, steady and calm, like breathing. There is no need to hurry. The work will take the whole morning, and part of the afternoon as well. It always does. There is comfort in knowing this. Nothing unexpected waits for him. Nothing sudden will interrupt the slow rhythm of the day. Nearby, another man bends low over the soil, guiding a simple wooden tool. A child walks carefully along the edge of the field, carrying a small bundle of reeds. The child moves slowly, trying not to drop anything, though it would not matter much if something did fall. No one here moves quickly. Even the animals seem to understand the pace of this place. A pair of oxen stand quietly, their bodies still, their eyes calm. When they are guided forward, they step slowly, pulling their weight with quiet strength. The air becomes warmer. It is not uncomfortable yet, but the coolness of early morning is beginning to fade. The light grows brighter, settling fully over the land. The river, not far away, reflects the sky in a soft shimmer that never quite stands still. The man pauses for a moment. He straightens his back and looks out across the fields. His breathing is steady. His face shows no sign of hurry, no sign of worry. There is only the quiet presence of someone who knows his place in the world. This is his life. And it has always been this way. In the distance, more figures move through the fields. Some carry baskets. Some carry tools. Others simply walk, heading toward their own work. From far away, they appear almost like shadows drifting slowly across the earth. The man bends again and continues. The soil is soft under his hands. It has been prepared carefully, shaped by water and time. Each year, the river rises and falls, leaving behind a layer of rich, dark earth. This cycle repeats, again and again, never rushing, never skipping a step. The people depend on it. They do not question it. They simply follow its rhythm. A light breeze passes through the field. It brings a small moment of relief from the growing warmth. The leaves of nearby plants shift gently, making a soft whispering sound. It is a quiet sound, easy to miss, but it fills the space between movements. The man hears it, but he does not stop. He continues his work, just as he always does. Time moves forward. But here, it does not feel like movement. It feels like a long, steady line, stretching endlessly in both directions. Yesterday feels close. Tomorrow feels the same. There is little difference between them. The sun climbs higher. Now the heat begins to settle more firmly on the land. It presses gently at first, then more steadily. The air becomes heavier, though still calm. The workers begin to slow, just slightly. Not because they must, but because this is how the day unfolds. Energy is not spent all at once. It is spread carefully, like water poured slowly from a jar. The man reaches for a small container. Inside is a simple meal. He sits down on the edge of the field, where the soil meets a narrow path. Around him, others are doing the same. They sit quietly, some alone, some beside family members. The meal is plain. Bread, a few vegetables, perhaps a small portion of dried fish. The food is not rich, but it is enough. It is familiar, and that familiarity brings comfort. He eats slowly. Each bite is taken without hurry. There is no need to finish quickly. The day is long, and there is time to rest between moments of work. The breeze passes again. This time, it feels warmer. The sound of the river carries faintly across the land. It is always there, always moving, even when no one is looking at it. Its presence is constant, like a quiet companion that never leaves. After some time, the man stands again. There is no signal, no call to return to work. It simply happens. One person stands, then another. Soon, the field is moving again, slowly filling with the steady rhythm of labor. The afternoon begins. The light shifts slightly, though it is still bright. The shadows stretch just a little longer than before. The heat remains, but it no longer grows. It simply stays, resting over the land like a soft weight. The man continues his work. His movements are slower now, but still steady. There is no frustration in this. It is expected. The body adjusts, finding a pace that can last until the end of the day. In the distance, the village waits. From here, it looks small. A cluster of simple homes, their walls the color of the earth itself. Thin lines of smoke rise gently into the sky, barely moving in the still air. Later, the people will return there. But not yet. For now, the work continues. The afternoon settles deeper over the land. The brightness of the sun softens just slightly, though it still holds its warmth. The sky above is wide and open, a pale blue that stretches without end. There are no sudden changes, no shifting clouds that bring surprise. Everything remains steady. The man's hands are slower now. Not from weakness, but from time. The body follows the rhythm of the day, and the day has reached its quieter half. Each movement is careful, measured, and unhurried. Around him, the field continues its gentle activity. A woman walks along a narrow path, balancing a container with quiet skill. Her steps are even, her posture steady. She has done this many times before. There is no need to think about it. A group of children move nearby, their voices soft, their movements relaxed. They are not completely still, but even their energy feels calm in this place. They do not run far. They do not shout loudly. They stay close. They watch. They learn. The man pauses again. He looks toward the river. From this distance, it glows softly under the sun. The surface shifts and glimmers, but never in a way that feels restless. It moves with quiet purpose, following its path as it always has. The river does not hurry. And neither do the people. A long moment passes. Then he returns to his work. The soil beneath him is warm now. It holds the heat of the sun, releasing it slowly into the air. The scent of earth rises gently, mixing with the faint smell of water carried by the breeze. These smells are familiar. They do not change. They return each day, just as the light returns, just as the work returns. Time continues to pass, though no one counts it. There are no clocks here. No marked hours. Only the position of the sun, the feeling in the air, the quiet signals of the body. Eventually, the light begins to shift again. It is a small change at first. The brightness softens. The shadows grow longer, stretching across the field in thin, quiet lines. The heat begins to ease, slowly lifting from the land. The man notices. not in a sudden way, but in a gentle awareness that the day is beginning to close. He finishes the task before him. There is no rush to complete everything. There never is. The work will continue tomorrow. It always does. He places his tools aside. Around him, others begin to do the same. One by one, the field grows quieter. The steady sounds of labor fade, replaced by softer movements. Footsteps on dry paths. The low sounds of voices, calm and even. The people begin to walk back toward the village. The man joins them. His steps are slow, not from tiredness alone, but from habit. This is the pace of returning. There is no reason to move quickly. Home is not far, and it will be there when he arrives. The path is familiar. Each turn, each stone, each small detail is known. He does not need to look down to see where he is going. His feet remember. The village grows larger as he approaches. The homes stand close together, their walls warm in the fading light. The air here feels different, still warm, but softer somehow, touched by the quiet presence of many lives returning at once. Smoke rises gently from small cooking fires. The smell of food begins to fill the space. It is simple food, but it is enough. The man reaches his home. He steps inside. The air within is cooler now, protected from the heat of the day. His family is there, moving quietly, preparing for the evening. There are no sudden changes. No surprises. Only the soft continuation of a life that repeats, again and again, in the same gentle way. And as the sun begins to lower toward the horizon, the day slowly begins to fade. The sun lowers slowly, as if it is in no hurry to leave. Its light turns softer now, changing from bright white to a warm, quiet gold. The fields, the paths, and the walls of the village begin to glow gently under this fading light. Long shadows stretch across the ground, thin and silent, moving without anyone noticing. The man sits just outside his home. The ground beneath him is still warm from the day, but the air has begun to cool. It moves softly across his skin, carrying the faint scent of cooking food and distant water. Inside, his family prepares the evening meal. There is no rush in their movements. Each task is done slowly, carefully, just as it has been done every evening before. A small fire burns with a low, steady flame. It does not crackle loudly. It simply glows and breathes, giving off a quiet heat. The man listens. He hears the soft sounds of clay bowls being placed down. The gentle movement of hands working with simple ingredients. The low murmur of voices, calm and even, never rising too high. Around the village, others are doing the same. Doors remain open. The evening air flows easily between homes. People sit outside or just inside their doorways, watching the light change, feeling the day come to a close. No one hurries the evening. It unfolds slowly, just like the morning did. The sky begins to shift in color. The pale blue deepens, blending into soft shades of orange and red near the horizon. The river reflects these colors, turning into a long, quiet ribbon of light that moves gently through the land. The man looks toward it again. He has seen this sight many times. It does not surprise him. But it still holds a quiet kind of beauty, one that does not demand attention, but simply exists. A child sits nearby, tracing lines in the dust with a small stick. The movement is slow and thoughtful. There is no goal, no need to finish anything. The act itself is enough. A woman steps outside, carrying a simple dish. She places it down carefully. The evening meal is ready. The family gathers close. They sit together on the ground, forming a small circle. The food is passed quietly from one to another. Hands move slowly. No one eats quickly. There is no need. The meal is simple. Bread, perhaps still warm. A few vegetables. Maybe some lentils, soft and plain. Occasionally, there is fish, caught from the river earlier in the day. The flavors are not strong. They do not change much from one day to the next. But they are familiar. And that familiarity brings comfort. The man eats slowly. Each bite is steady, unhurried. The body does not need much. Just enough to carry it through another day, another cycle of the same gentle work. Around them, the village continues its quiet rhythm. Some people speak softly. Others sit in silence, watching the sky darken. A few children move slowly between homes, their steps light, their voices low. The light fades further. The colors in the sky begin to disappear, one by one. The warmth of the sun is replaced by a cooler, softer darkness. The first stars begin to appear, faint at first, then clearer as the sky deepens. The fire burns lower. Its glow becomes softer, casting small, flickering shadows on the walls. The air cools more, settling gently over the land. The man finishes his meal. He sets the bowl aside. There is no need for more. The day has given what it could. Now it is time to rest. Inside the home, the space is quiet and simple. The walls hold the coolness of night. The floor is smooth and firm beneath their feet. There are no decorations, no unnecessary objects. Only what is needed. The family prepares to sleep. There is no long routine, no complex process. Each movement is natural, practiced through countless evenings just like this one. The man lies down. He does not think about tomorrow in a detailed way. He does not plan each moment. He already knows what the day will bring. It will be the same. And that sameness is not a burden. It is something steady. Something certain. Outside, the village grows quieter. One by one, the small sounds fade. Voices soften, then disappear. Footsteps slow, then stop. The fires burn down to faint embers, glowing softly in the darkness. The river continues to move. It does not stop. It does not sleep. Its quiet sound carries through the night, a constant presence that never leaves. The man closes his eyes. His body is tired, but not strained. It has worked steadily, not harshly. The kind of tiredness that comes from repetition, not from urgency. His breathing slows. The night deepens. Above, the stars fill the sky. They are clear and bright, untouched by any light beyond the small fires of the village. They seem still, though they move slowly, just like everything else in this world. Time passes. But no one marks it. The night is long, but gentle. And eventually, without any sudden change, sleep takes him. The hours drift quietly. The village rests. The river flows. The air cools further, wrapping the land in a soft stillness. Occasionally, a distant animal calls, but the sound does not disturb the calm. It simply becomes part of it. The homes remain still. Inside them, people sleep deeply, their bodies recovering in silence. There are no sudden awakenings, no interruptions. Only the slow rise and fall of breathing, steady and even. The night continues its quiet path. And somewhere far beyond thought or awareness, the earth turns, bringing the promise of another day that will unfold in exactly the same way. Before the first light appears, there is a moment of deep stillness. It is the quietest part of the night. The air feels almost paused, as if waiting. Then, slowly, the sky begins to change again. A faint light returns to the horizon. It is soft at first, barely noticeable. But it grows. And with it, the cycle begins again. The early morning returns without sound. There is no clear moment when night becomes day. The change is gradual, gentle, almost invisible. Darkness softens into gray, and gray slowly becomes light. The village is still asleep. But not for long. A bird calls. It is a small sound, quiet but clear. It breaks the silence in a soft and natural way. Another bird answers, then another. Soon, the air carries a faint pattern of gentle calls, scattered and calm. The man opens his eyes again. There is no surprise in waking. Only the quiet return to awareness. He lies still for a moment, just as he did the day before. The air inside the home is cool. The faint light from outside touches the walls, slowly revealing the simple space around him. He sits up. The movement is slow, careful, unhurried. Around him, his family begins to wake in the same way. No one speaks loudly. No one rushes to stand. Each person moves at their own quiet pace, following the rhythm that has been repeated for years. Outside, the sky grows brighter. The pale light spreads across the land once more, touching the tops of the homes, the narrow paths, and the distant fields. The river reflects it all, just as it always does. The man steps outside. The air is fresh again. Cool, soft, and calm. For a brief moment, before the sun rises fully, the world feels almost weightless. The heat of the previous day is gone, and the warmth of the new day has not yet arrived. It is a quiet balance. He walks toward the river. His steps follow the same path as before. The ground feels familiar beneath his feet. The shapes of the village, the placement of each home, each tree, each path, they are all known to him. Nothing has changed. And nothing needs to. At the river's edge, he kneels once more. The water is cool, just as it was yesterday. He washes his face again. The motion is the same. The feeling is the same. Nearby, others do the same in quiet harmony. There is no need for instruction. No need for guidance. Everyone understands what to do, simply because they have always done it. The sun begins to rise. Its light grows stronger, spreading across the land in a slow and steady way. The coolness of the air begins to lift, replaced by a gentle warmth that will grow throughout the day. The man stands. He turns toward the fields again. The work is waiting. Just as it always is. He walks forward. And the cycle continues. The days continue to pass in the same quiet rhythm. Morning follows night. Light follows darkness. Work follows rest. And through all of it, the river remains. The Nile moves slowly beside the land, never stopping, never rushing. It does not change its nature from one day to the next, yet over time, it shapes everything. The people who live beside it understand this, not through study or words, but through repetition. Through years of watching, touching, and living alongside it. The man walks to the fields again, just as he has done every morning. But the fields are not always the same. Though each day feels similar, the land moves through longer cycles, quiet and steady, just like the hours of a single day. These cycles are not sudden. They do not announce themselves loudly. They unfold slowly, almost without notice. There is a time when the river begins to rise. At first, it is small. The water reaches a little farther than before. It spreads gently into the edges of the fields, touching the soil in a way that feels both familiar and important. The man notices. He does not react with surprise. He has seen this many times. Each year, the river grows. It rises slowly, covering more and more of the land. The fields that once held growing crops become quiet under a shallow layer of water. The neat rows disappear beneath the surface, leaving only a wide, still expanse that reflects the sky. During this time, the work changes. The man no longer tends growing plants in the same way. Instead, he watches the water. He moves differently now, following tasks that belong to this part of the cycle. The village adjusts without effort. People do not resist the water. They do not try to stop it. They understand that this rising is necessary. It is what gives life to the soil. It is what allows the next cycle to begin. The water stays for some time. Days pass. The sun rises and sets over the flooded land. The surface of the water shifts gently with the breeze, creating small patterns that appear and fade without sound. The man spends his time repairing tools. He sits near his home, working slowly with his hands. The tools are simple wood, stone, fiber, but they require care. Each piece is adjusted, strengthened, or replaced when needed. His movements are steady. There is no urgency. This is work that fits the quiet nature of these days. Nearby, others do the same. Some weave baskets from reeds gathered near the river. Their fingers move carefully, looping and tightening each strand. The shapes grow slowly, forming containers that will be used again and again. Children sit close, watching. They do not learn through instruction alone. They learn by seeing, by repeating, by slowly understanding the rhythm of each movement. The air during this time feels different. It is heavier with moisture. The scent of water and earth is stronger. The ground near the village is softer, and the sounds of footsteps change slightly, becoming more muted. At night, the reflections of the stars shimmer across the flooded land. The water becomes a mirror, doubling the sky. The man sometimes looks out at this. He does not speak about it, but he sees it. And then, slowly, the water begins to fall. It does not leave all at once. It withdraws gently, revealing the land beneath it. The soil that appears is dark and rich, softer than before, carrying within it the remains of the river's journey. This is the beginning of another phase. The man returns to the fields. His feet press into the newly exposed soil. It feels different, cooler, more yielding. He knows this feeling well. It signals the time to begin again. He picks up his tools. The same tools. The same motions. But now, the land is ready in a new way. He begins to prepare the soil. The work is slow. It always is. He presses, turns, and smooths the earth, creating space for seeds that will soon be placed into the ground. Each movement follows the last, forming a quiet pattern that stretches across the hours. Around him, others move in the same rhythm. There is no need for coordination. It happens naturally. The fields begin to take shape again. Lines form. Spaces open. The land becomes organized once more, not in a strict or sharp way, but in a gentle order that feels right to those who work it. The seeds are planted. Each one is placed carefully, without haste. There is no rushing this process. The growth that follows will take time, and that time cannot be shortened. The man knows this. He does not try to change it. Days pass. The sun rises and sets again and again. The seeds begin to grow. At first, it is barely noticeable. Small green shoots push through the soil, delicate and quiet. They do not appear all at once. They emerge slowly, one by one, until the field begins to show signs of life. The man watches. He does not watch constantly, but he notices. Each morning, there is a little more green. Each evening, the field looks slightly fuller. The work continues. He tends the growing plants, removing what does not belong, guiding what does. His hands move with care, not force. The plants respond in their own time, growing steadily under the warmth of the sun. The days feel the same. But beneath that sameness, change is always happening. Slow change. Quiet change. The kind that does not disturb the rhythm, but becomes part of it. The air grows warmer again. The cycle continues. The man wakes, works, rests, and sleeps, just as before. Nothing about his daily life feels new. And yet, each year, the land moves through these stages, repeating the same gentle transformation. Flood. Rest. Planting. Growth. Harvest. Then, once again, the river rises. And the cycle begins again. The time of harvest arrives without urgency. There is no sudden signal. No loud announcement. Only a quiet understanding that the plants have reached their fullness. The fields, once soft and dark, are now filled with tall, golden growth. The air moves through them in gentle waves, causing a soft rustling sound that spreads across the land. The man walks into the field. The ground beneath him is dry again, firm but still touched by the memory of the river. The plants stand close together, their forms familiar, their presence expected. He reaches out and touches them. The texture is different now. No longer soft and new, but mature, ready. He begins the work. Harvesting is steady. It is not rushed. Each movement is careful, practiced. He cuts, gathers, and places the crops into small bundles. The work continues hour after hour, just as the planting did, just as every task does. Around him, the field is full of quiet activity. Others move in the same way, bending, lifting, placing. There are no sharp sounds. Only the soft rhythm of many hands working together. The sun rises higher. The light settles over the golden fields, making them glow softly. The air is warm, but not harsh. A gentle breeze moves through, carrying the scent of dry plants and earth. The man continues. He does not think about finishing quickly. He thinks only about the next movement. And then the next. And then the next. Time passes. The bundles grow. The field slowly changes as sections are cleared. What was once full becomes open again, revealing the ground beneath. The work lasts for many days. Each day follows the same pattern. Morning light. Steady labor. A simple meal. Then more work until the light begins to fade. The man returns home each evening. His body is tired, but in a familiar way. It is not a sharp exhaustion. It is a deep, even tiredness that settles into his muscles and fades slowly with rest. At night, he sleeps. And in the morning, he returns. The harvest continues until the work is done. And when it is finished, the fields are quiet again. Empty, but not lifeless. Resting. Waiting. The cycle has reached another point of stillness. The man stands at the edge of the field. He looks across the open land. There is no strong feeling of completion. No moment of celebration. Only a quiet recognition that this part of the cycle has ended. And another will begin. Soon, the river will rise again. Soon, the fields will change again. And through all of it, his life will remain the same. Simple. Repetitive. Steady. The fields rest quietly now. After the long days of harvest, the land feels open and still. The golden color has faded, replaced once again by soft earth and low traces of what once grew there. The wind moves more freely across the ground, carrying fine dust and the faint memory of dry plants. The man no longer walks to the fields at sunrise in the same way. For a time, his mornings begin closer to home. The rhythm of life does not stop, but it shifts. In the village, the quiet work continues. The homes stand close together, built from the same earth that surrounds them. Their walls are thick and solid, holding the coolness of night and the warmth of day. The surfaces are smooth in places, rough in others, shaped by hands over many years. Inside one of these homes, the man sits on the floor. Light enters through a small opening, falling gently across the room. It does not fill the space completely. It creates soft areas of brightness and shadow, where objects rest without drawing attention. In front of him are simple tools. They are familiar, worn by time and use. A wooden handle, smoothed by countless touches. A blade that has been sharpened many times, its edge carefully maintained. Pieces of fiber, clay, and stone lie nearby, each waiting to be shaped or used. He begins his work. His hands move slowly, carefully guiding each motion. There is no wasted effort. Each action has been repeated so often that it no longer requires thought. He repairs what has worn down. He reshapes what has broken. He prepares for what will be needed again. The work is quiet. There are no loud sounds, only the soft scrape of material, the gentle press of fingers, the steady rhythm of careful movement. Outside, the village breathes in its usual way. A woman walks along the path, carrying water in a balanced container. Her steps are even, her posture steady. She moves without hurry, as if guided by an invisible rhythm that matches the pace of the world around her. Nearby, another woman kneels close to the ground, shaping wet clay into simple forms. Her hands are covered in earth, moving slowly as she presses and smooths the surface of a small vessel. Each piece is made with care, though it will be used in ordinary ways. Nothing here is made for display. Everything is made for use. Children sit close by, watching. They do not interrupt. They do not rush to take part. They observe quietly, learning through stillness as much as through action. One child reaches forward and touches the clay. The movement is gentle, uncertain. The woman does not stop him. She allows the moment to pass naturally, knowing that understanding comes slowly, over many days, many small attempts. Further along the village, a man works with reeds. He sits under a shaded area, where the light is softer. In his hands, thin strands of plant fiber are woven together in a steady pattern. Over time, they form a basket. The pattern repeats. Over and over. Loop and pull. Loop and pull. The shape grows gradually. There is no rush to finish. The basket will be ready when it is ready. The air in the village carries a mix of quiet scents. Dry earth. Warm clay. Faint smoke from small fires. And always, beneath it all, the presence of the river. Though it is not always in sight, it is never far. Its influence reaches into every part of life here. Even in the stillness after harvest, the river shapes what comes next. The man pauses in his work. He lifts his hand slightly, turning the tool to examine it. His eyes move slowly, checking each part. There is no sign of frustration, no sense of urgency. Only quiet attention. He makes a small adjustment. Then continues. Time passes in a soft and unmarked way. There are no sudden changes. No interruptions. Only the slow movement of light across the room, shifting from one wall to another. Eventually, the sun rises higher. The warmth increases. The village adjusts again. Some people move into shaded areas. Others continue their work without change, their bodies already accustomed to the heat. The man sets his tools aside for a moment. He steps outside. The brightness is stronger now, but not harsh. The air feels heavier than it did in the early morning, though still calm. He looks around the village. Everything is as it should be. People move in quiet patterns. Tasks are carried out without instruction. There is no need for direction. Each person knows their place, their role, their rhythm. There are those who shape tools. Those who carry water. Those who prepare food. Those who care for children. And those who watch, learning slowly, becoming part of the same repeating life. Near the center of the village, a small open space remains mostly clear. Here, people pass through, sometimes pausing briefly, sometimes continuing without stopping. There is no gathering for loud conversation. No crowded movement. Only a gentle flow of presence. At times, a man dressed slightly differently walks through this space. His clothing is still simple, but arranged with more care. His movements are calm, deliberate. He does not hurry, and others do not interrupt him. He is a priest. His role is different, but his pace is the same. He carries out small rituals, quiet acts that connect the people to something beyond the visible world. There are no loud ceremonies here, no overwhelming displays. Only soft words, simple gestures, repeated again and again over time. The man watches him pass. There is no strong reaction. Only recognition. Each person in the village has a role. Each role fits into the whole. And the whole continues without change. The day moves forward. The light begins its slow journey toward the afternoon. The man returns inside. He picks up his tools again. The work continues. As the hours pass, the village settles into a deeper stillness. The sounds soften. The movements slow slightly. The heat reaches its quiet peak, resting over the land like a gentle weight. Inside the home, the man continues shaping and repairing. His hands move without pause, but never with strain. There is a rhythm even in the stillness. A quiet repetition that fills the space. Outside, the children grow quieter. Some rest in shaded areas. Others sit close to their families, watching or lightly assisting in small tasks. No one is left without purpose. Even the smallest action holds meaning, not because it is important in a grand way, but because it is part of the continuous flow of life. Eventually, the light begins to soften again. The afternoon slowly leans toward evening. The man places his tools aside once more. Not because everything is finished, but because it is enough for now. He steps outside again. The air begins to cool. The long shadows return, stretching across the village paths and along the walls of the homes. The cycle of the day continues, just as it always has. and just as it always will. The evening returns in the same quiet way. Light softens, shadows lengthen, and the warmth of the day slowly begins to release its hold on the land. The village settles into a calmer rhythm, one that feels softer, slower, and more inward. Inside the homes, small movements begin again. The man steps into the shaded interior of his house. The air feels cooler here, protected by thick walls shaped from earth and time. The light enters only in gentle portions, falling across the floor in soft lines. His family is already at work. The evening meal is being prepared, just as it was the night before, and the night before that. The process does not change. It follows a steady pattern, learned through repetition and passed quietly from one day to the next. A woman kneels near a low grinding stone. Her hands move slowly as she presses grain against the surface, turning it into fine flour. The motion is circular, steady, and unbroken. There is no sudden movement, no wasted energy. The sound is soft, a gentle scraping that repeats again and again. The man sits nearby. For a moment, he simply watches. There is no need to speak. The sound of the grinding stone, the faint crackle of a small fire, and the quiet movement of hands are enough to fill the space. The flour is gathered carefully. It is mixed with water, shaped into simple forms, and placed near the heat. The smell begins to rise slowly, warm and familiar. It does not change from one evening to another, and because of that, it brings a quiet sense of comfort. Nearby, vegetables are prepared. They are washed gently, cut slowly, and placed into a small clay pot. Water is added. The pot is set over the fire, where it will warm gradually, never too fast. Nothing here is rushed. Time is allowed to pass at its own pace. The man reaches for a piece of cloth. It is simple, made from linen, light and soft against the skin. He adjusts it slowly, wrapping it around his body in the same familiar way. The fabric is worn but clean, shaped by use and care. Clothing here does not change often. It is made for comfort, for the heat, for the slow movements of daily life. There are no sudden styles, no sharp differences. Only slight variations, shaped by role and need. Children sit nearby. One leans gently against the wall, watching the fire. Another traces small patterns in the dust with a finger, repeating shapes that appear and disappear without meaning. Their movements are quiet. Their energy is soft. They are part of the rhythm, not separate from it. The meal continues to prepare. Steam rises slowly from the pot, carrying a faint, earthy scent. The bread warms near the fire, its surface changing gently as heat reaches it. The man closes his eyes for a moment. Not to sleep, but simply to rest. The sounds around him remain steady. The grinding has stopped. The fire continues. A quiet shift in movement signals that the meal is almost ready. He opens his eyes again. Nothing has changed in a noticeable way. And yet, time has passed. The food is placed into simple bowls. Each one is shaped by hand, slightly different from the others. There is no need for perfect form. Only function matters here. The family gathers close. They sit together on the floor, forming a quiet circle. The bowls are passed gently from one to another. No one reaches quickly. No one takes more than they need. The man begins to eat. The food is warm, soft, and plain. It fills the body without demanding attention. Each bite is slow. Each movement is calm. There is no conversation that rises above a soft tone. Words are few, and they are not needed often. Presence is enough. Outside, the village follows the same pattern. Soft voices. Small fires. The faint glow of evening spreading across the ground. The sky begins to change again. The light fades into deeper colors, then slowly into darkness. The first stars appear, just as they always do, scattered gently across the wide sky. The man finishes his meal. He sets the bowl aside. His body feels settled. Not full, not empty. Just balanced. The air cools further. A soft breeze moves through the village, slipping between homes, brushing lightly against skin and walls. It carries the scent of earth, water, and distant plants. The fire burns lower. Its light becomes softer, more contained. The shadows it creates move gently along the walls, stretching and shrinking in quiet patterns. The family prepares for rest. There is no clear beginning to this process. It happens gradually. Movements slow. Voices fade. The space becomes quieter with each passing moment. The man lies down again. The floor beneath him feels familiar, shaped by many nights of rest. His body settles naturally, finding the same position it has found so many times before. Around him, others do the same. No one speaks. There is no need. Outside, the village grows still. The last small sounds fade into the night. A distant animal calls once, then again, then falls silent. The river continues its quiet movement. Always present. Always steady. The man closes his eyes. Sleep does not come immediately. It arrives slowly, gently, like the fading of light. His breathing deepens. His body becomes still. And without any clear moment of change, he is asleep. The night stretches quietly across the land. The stars remain steady above, their light soft but constant. The air cools further, wrapping the village in a calm and even stillness. Nothing moves quickly. Nothing disturbs the balance. The homes remain silent. Inside them, the slow rhythm of sleep continues. Time passes, but it does not feel like passing. It feels like a quiet space, held gently between two days that are almost the same. Before long, the horizon begins to lighten again. The first hint of morning returns. And with it, the same gentle cycle begins once more. Morning returns once more, as it always does. The light arrives quietly, spreading across the land without sound. It touches the edges of the village, the smooth walls of the homes, and the narrow paths that wind gently between them. The air is cool again. For a short time, before the sun rises fully, the world feels soft and balanced. The warmth of the previous day has faded, and the heat of the new day has not yet taken its place. The man wakes. His eyes open slowly, without effort. There is no sudden movement, no sharp awareness. Only a gradual return to the quiet rhythm of being awake. He sits up. The floor beneath him feels familiar, cool, and steady. The air inside the home carries a faint scent of earth and ash from the fire that burned the night before. Around him, the others begin to wake as well. Each person moves in their own time, but the pattern is always the same. No one rushes. No one lingers too long. The balance is understood without being spoken. The man steps outside. The sky is pale, gently brightening. The first sounds of morning begin again: soft bird calls, the quiet shifting of animals, the distant murmur of the river. He walks toward the water. The path feels the same beneath his feet. The ground holds a slight coolness, though it will soon warm. Small stones press gently against his skin, but he does not notice them in any conscious way. His body has known this path for too long. At the river's edge, the water waits. It is calm, moving slowly, reflecting the early sky in soft shades of gray and blue. He kneels. His hands enter the water. The coolness spreads across his skin, gentle and refreshing. He lifts the water to his face, letting it run slowly over his cheeks, his forehead, his eyes. The motion is the same as always. But the feeling remains quietly satisfying. Nearby, others do the same. Some wash their hands. Some rinse their faces. Some stand still for a moment, simply looking at the water, as if listening to it without sound. The man remains there a little longer today. He lowers his hands again, letting the water move between his fingers. It slips past without resistance, continuing on its endless path. There is something steady in this. Something that does not change. He stands. The sun begins to rise. Light touches the surface of the river, turning it into a soft mirror of gold. The air begins to warm, slowly lifting the coolness of morning. He turns back toward the village. The day will unfold as it always does. Inside the home, small movements begin again. The woman prepares water in a simple container. It has been filled from the river, carried carefully, balanced with steady steps. Now it rests near the entrance, where it can be used throughout the morning. The man reaches for a cloth. It is made of linen, light and soft. Over time, it has become smoother, shaped by use and washing. He dips part of it into the water and gently wipes his arms, his shoulders, his face once more. The motion is slow. There is no scrubbing, no harsh effort. Only a quiet cleaning, enough to refresh the body. Water is not wasted. Each movement is measured. Each use is careful. The cloth is wrung out gently. The remaining water falls back into the container in small, quiet drops. Nearby, a child watches. The child holds a smaller piece of cloth, copying the same motions in a simple way. The water is cool against small hands. The action is not perfect, but it does not need to be. Learning happens through repetition. Through quiet observation. Through doing the same thing again and again, until it feels natural. The man finishes. He adjusts his clothing once more. The linen rests lightly against his skin, allowing air to move freely. In the warmth of this land, heavy clothing is not needed. The body is allowed to breathe, to remain cool even as the day grows hotter. Outside, the village continues to wake. People step into the morning light, moving in slow and steady ways. Some carry containers. Some walk toward the river. Others begin small tasks near their homes. There is no loud beginning to the day. Only a gradual increase in movement. The sun rises higher. The warmth grows. The man walks again, this time not toward the fields immediately, but through the village itself. He passes others who are beginning their routines. A woman arranges simple objects near her doorway. A man lifts a bundle of reeds, preparing to shape them into something useful. An older figure sits quietly, watching the movement of the morning without taking part in it. Each person exists within the same rhythm. Different roles. But the same pace. The same repetition. As the day continues, the heat begins to settle. It does not arrive suddenly. It builds slowly, layer by layer, until it rests gently over everything. The man feels it on his skin. A steady warmth that does not press too hard, but remains constant. His body adjusts. It always has. There is no resistance to the heat. Only acceptance. At times, he returns briefly to the shade. The interior of the home offers relief. The walls hold back the strongest warmth, keeping the air inside softer, more still. He sits for a moment. Not to stop the day, but to let it continue at a steady pace. Nearby, water rests in its container. Its surface is still. He reaches for it again. This time, he drinks. The water is cool, though not cold. It moves slowly as he lifts it, settling again once the container is placed back down. Each sip is small, measured, enough to ease the dryness, but never taken too quickly. The body remains balanced. Outside, the light shifts again. The movement of the sun is steady, almost unnoticeable, but it continues without pause. The man stands once more. He steps back into the day. The work continues. As afternoon approaches, the air grows heavier. The sounds of the village soften again. Movements become slower. Not from tiredness alone, but from understanding. This is how the day unfolds. There is no need to push against it. The man walks once more toward the edge of the village. The fields wait in their quiet state. The land rests between cycles. And so, for now, he does the same. The day will continue. The evening will return. The night will follow. And through it all, the same gentle rhythm will carry on, unchanged, steady, and calm. The afternoon softens slowly. The height of the heat begins to ease, not all at once, but in a gradual and gentle way. The air becomes lighter. The shadows begin to stretch again, growing longer across the ground as the sun lowers its steady path. The man feels the change without thinking about it. His body notices before his mind does. The weight of the day begins to lift, and with it, the pace of movement shifts once more. Work does not stop suddenly, but it becomes quieter, less demanding. There are moments in life here that feel slightly different. Not because they break the rhythm, but because they sit gently within it. Days of small ritual. Days of quiet gathering. Days when the people turn their attention towards something beyond the tasks of the field and the home. These moments come and go, just like everything else. They do not arrive with noise. They do not leave with urgency. They are simply part of the same steady flow. The man walks through the village as the afternoon leans toward evening. He notices small preparations. A space near the center of the village is being cleared, not in a hurried way, but with calm and quiet intention. A few people move slowly, adjusting the ground, placing simple objects in careful positions. There are no decorations that shine brightly. No loud signals that something special is about to begin. Only small changes. Subtle arrangements. The kind that can be missed if one is not paying attention. The man pauses at a distance. He watches. Not closely, not with strong focus. Just enough to understand. These are moments of offering. Of quiet connection. A way of continuing something that has always been done. A priest moves slowly within the space. His clothing is clean, arranged with care. His posture is steady, his steps measured. He carries a small object in his hands, something simple, shaped with intention. He places it gently. Then steps back. There are no loud words. Only soft sounds. Perhaps a low voice, steady and even, speaking words that have been repeated many times before. Words that do not change, because they are not meant to. The people gather, but not in a crowd. They stand or sit at a distance, each one keeping a quiet space around themselves. No one pushes forward. No one raises their voice. Presence is enough. The man remains where he is. He does not move closer. He does not need to. He understands the moment without stepping into it. The air feels calm. The light continues to soften. The small ritual unfolds slowly. A gesture is made. An offering is placed. A few quiet words are spoken. Then stillness returns. There is no clear ending. No signal that tells the people to leave. They simply begin to drift away, one by one, returning to their homes, their paths, their quiet tasks. The man turns and walks back toward his home. Nothing feels different. And yet, something small has been completed. A quiet act, repeated across many days, many seasons, many years. Inside the home, the evening begins again. The same gentle preparation. The same slow movements. The same soft sounds. The fire is lit. The grain is ground. The food is prepared. The man sits in his usual place. The air feels cooler now, touched by the fading light of the day. A soft breeze moves through the doorway, carrying with it the scent of the earth and the distant river. He watches the small flame. It flickers quietly, never rising too high, never falling too low. It remains steady, just like everything else. Nearby, a child rests against the wall. Eyes half closed. Not fully asleep. Not fully awake. Existing in the quiet space between. The man's breathing slows. The day has been long, but not heavy. There has been work. There has been rest. There has been a small moment of ritual, simple and calm. And now, there is evening. The food is ready. The family gathers once more. They sit together in the same way as always. The bowls are passed. The meal begins. No one rushes. No one speaks loudly. Each movement is part of a pattern that has never needed to change. The man eats slowly. The taste is familiar. The texture is familiar. Everything about the moment is known. And that knowing brings a quiet sense of ease. Outside, the village mirrors the same pattern. Soft voices. Low fires. The slow fading of light. The sky darkens once more. The first stars appear. Then more. The night spreads gently across the land. After the meal, the village becomes quieter. The small ritual from earlier has left no strong trace. No excitement. No lingering energy. Only a soft continuation of the same calm rhythm. The man steps outside briefly. He looks up at the sky. The stars are clear. They seem still, though they move slowly beyond what the eye can see. He does not think deeply about them. He simply observes. Then, after a moment, he returns inside. The fire burns low. The air cools further. The family prepares for rest. The same quiet movements. The same steady pace. The man lies down. His body settles easily. The ground beneath him feels the same as it did the night before. And the night before that. There is no discomfort in this repetition. Only familiarity. Only quiet. His eyes close. The sounds of the village fade. The river continues its endless movement. The air grows still. And once again, sleep arrives slowly, gently, without interruption. The night stretches across the land. Time passes without notice. The village rests. The river flows. The stars remain. And somewhere, beyond all thought, the cycle prepares to begin again. The night fades as it always does. Darkness softens into a quiet gray, and the gray slowly becomes light. The stars disappear one by one, not all at once, but gently, as if they are stepping back without being seen. The village begins to wake again. The same slow movements. The same soft sounds. The same gentle return to another day that feels almost identical to the one before. The man opens his eyes. There is no surprise in waking. Only a quiet awareness that the cycle continues. He sits up, just as he always does. The air inside the home is cool, holding the last traces of night. Outside, the early light touches the ground, spreading slowly across the village paths and toward the distant river. He steps outside. The morning feels familiar. It always does. But beneath this repetition, there are deeper patterns that shape life in ways that are not always seen in a single day. The people here do not only live for the work of each morning or the rest of each night. They also live with a quiet awareness of what comes after life. Not in a loud or fearful way, but in a calm and steady understanding. The man walks along the edge of the village. Beyond the homes, beyond the paths worn by daily movement, the land stretches outward into a quieter space. Here, the ground feels different. More still. Less touched by everyday life. This is where the dead are placed. Not far from the living, but separate enough to remain undisturbed. The man does not come here every day. But he knows it well. He has walked this way before, slowly, quietly, as part of moments that follow their own steady rhythm. There are simple markings in the ground. Some are small. Some slightly larger. They are not always grand or elaborate. Many are quiet, humble, shaped by the same hands that build homes and tend fields. The people who rest here were once part of the same daily pattern. They woke with the sun. They worked the fields. They ate simple meals. They slept under the same sky. And then, slowly, their time came to an end. When that happens, life does not stop suddenly. It shifts. The body is prepared with care. Not in a rushed way. Not with loud displays. But with slow, deliberate actions that have been repeated many times before. The man remembers such moments. He remembers how the body is washed. The same cool water from the river. The same gentle motions. Hands move carefully, respectfully, without haste. The body is wrapped in linen. The cloth is simple, but placed with intention. Each fold is made slowly, as if the act itself holds meaning beyond the material. There are no sudden movements. No raised voices. Only quiet presence. The family gathers. Not in a crowd, but close enough to share the moment. Their expressions remain calm. There is sadness, but it is not loud. It does not break the rhythm of life. It becomes part of it. A priest may stand nearby. His voice is low. His words are steady. They are not new words. They are words that have been spoken many times, carried through generations, repeated with the same calm tone. They speak of continuation. Of a journey that does not end. Of a life that moves from one state into another. The people listen. Not with urgency. Not with fear. But with quiet acceptance. The body is then placed into the ground. The movement is slow. Careful. There is no rush to complete it. The earth receives the body in the same way it receives seeds, tools, and all things that return to it. The moment ends without a sharp conclusion. No loud signal. No final act. Only a gradual return to stillness. The people leave quietly. One by one. returning to their homes, their paths, their daily tasks. The man stands at a distance now. He looks across the quiet ground. There is no strong emotion on his face. Only a calm understanding. Life here does not separate sharply between living and dying. Both exist within the same steady cycle. Just as the river rises and falls. Just as the sun rises and sets. Just as the fields grow and rest. So too does life begin, continue, and gently come to an end. And then, in another way, begin again. He turns and walks back toward the village. The morning continues. The sun rises higher. The air begins to warm. People move along the paths once more. Carrying water. Preparing tools. Beginning the same steady work. Nothing has stopped. Nothing has changed. The cycle continues without interruption. The man returns to his home. He pauses briefly at the entrance. Inside, his family is already moving through the familiar motions of morning. The quiet sounds of preparation fill the space, soft and steady. He steps inside. He sits. He takes a moment of stillness. Then, slowly, he begins again. The rest of the day unfolds as it always does. Work. Rest. Small moments of quiet connection. The sun moves across the sky. The air warms, then softens again. The evening returns. The meal is shared. The fire burns low. The night settles over the land. And through it all, the deeper understanding remains. Life continues. Not in sudden leaps. Not in dramatic changes. But in a steady, repeating flow that carries everything forward, gently, and without pause. As the man lies down to sleep once more, there is no sense of ending. Only continuation. The same breath. The same stillness. The same quiet presence of the world around him. The river moves. The stars remain. And somewhere beyond thought, the cycle prepares to begin again. The morning light spreads again across the land. It touches the village first, then the quiet paths, and then the open spaces beyond, where the land stretches farther than the eye can easily follow. The air is calm, carrying only the soft sounds of waking life. The man rises as he always does. The same slow movement. The same quiet breath. The same gentle beginning. But today, as on some days, his work does not remain within the small boundaries of the village or the nearby fields. There are times when the rhythm of life extends outward, reaching into larger spaces where many people gather, not in haste, but in a shared and steady purpose. He walks along a wider path. The ground beneath him is firm, shaped by many feet over many days. The path leads away from the cluster of homes, beyond the usual places of daily work. Others walk the same way. They do not form a crowd. They do not speak loudly. They move in a loose, quiet line, each person following the same direction, guided by routine rather than instruction. The sun rises slowly as they walk. Its light grows stronger, but the morning is still gentle. In the distance, shapes begin to appear. Large, still forms that rise from the earth. They do not move. They do not change quickly. They stand as part of the landscape, shaped by hands over long periods of time. The man approaches. This is a place of building. Not a place of sudden activity, but one of continuous, steady work. Here, many people come together. Not to rush. Not to complete something in a short time. But to contribute small efforts, repeated over many days, many seasons. The work here is slow. Stone by stone. Layer by layer. Nothing is lifted in a sudden motion. Nothing is placed without care. The man takes his place among others. There is no loud direction given. No sharp command. Each person knows their task. Some carry small loads. Others shape materials. Others guide the placement of each piece. The tools are simple. Wood. Stone. Fiber. Their surfaces are worn smooth by use, shaped by countless hands before his. He picks up a tool. It fits naturally in his grip. He does not need to adjust it. He begins. The work is steady. He lifts. He carries. He places. Then returns to begin again. The movements are not fast. They are not slow in a way that wastes time. They are simply consistent. Each action follows the last, forming a quiet chain of effort that continues without interruption. Around him, the same pattern repeats. Many hands. Many small actions. All moving together without noise. There is no need for loud communication. A glance is enough. A small gesture is enough. The understanding is shared. The air begins to warm as the sun climbs higher. The light falls across the stone surfaces, creating soft shadows that shift slowly as the hours pass. The man pauses briefly. He sets down what he is carrying. He straightens his back. He breathes. There is no urgency to continue immediately. Rest is part of the rhythm. He sits in a shaded area, where a simple covering provides relief from the direct light. Others sit nearby, spaced apart, each within their own quiet space. A small meal is taken. Bread. Water. Simple nourishment. No one rushes to eat. No one speaks loudly. The sounds remain soft, blending into the steady atmosphere of the place. After a time, he stands again. He returns to his work. The same movements. The same effort. Lift. Carry. Place. Return. Again and again. The structure grows, but not in a way that can be easily seen in a single day. Change here is slow. Almost invisible. Only over many days, many visits, does the difference become clear. The man does not think about the final form. He does not imagine its full height or its finished shape. His role is smaller. Closer. Focused only on the next task. And then the next. And then the next. The afternoon arrives. The light softens slightly. The heat settles into its familiar weight. The work continues, but at a gentler pace. Bodies move with care. Energy is used slowly. The rhythm holds. Eventually, the time comes to leave. There is no signal. No loud ending. The work simply comes to a pause. Tools are set down. Hands are wiped clean. People begin to walk back along the path, just as they arrived. The man joins them. His steps are steady. His body is tired, but not strained. The kind of tiredness that comes from repetition, not from pressure. The sun lowers slowly. The light turns warm again. The long shadows return. The village appears in the distance, just as it always does. Small. Quiet. Unchanged. He enters once more. The familiar paths. The familiar homes. The same gentle presence of daily life. Inside, the evening begins again. The fire is lit. The meal is prepared. The family gathers. Nothing feels different. Though he has spent the day in a larger place, among many people, the rhythm remains the same. Simple. Repetitive. Calm. As night falls, the memory of the larger work fades gently. There is no lingering excitement. No strong sense of accomplishment. Only the quiet continuation of life. The man lies down. His body settles. His breathing slows. Outside, the river continues its endless movement. The stars appear once more. And the world returns to stillness. In this way, even the greatest works are built. Not through sudden effort. Not through moments of urgency. But through countless small actions, repeated again and again, each one quiet, each one steady. Just like the days. Just like the life itself. The river moves as it always does. It carries the soft light of morning across its surface, turning pale gray into gentle silver. The air above it is calm, touched by the quiet coolness that arrives before the sun rises fully. The man walks toward the water again. But today, his steps carry him a little farther along the river's edge, beyond the place where he usually kneels to wash, beyond the paths that lead only to fields and back again. There are times when the river is not only a source of water. It becomes a path. A slow and steady road that connects one quiet place to another. As he walks, he begins to see movement on the water. Small boats rest near the edge, their shape simple and low. They are made from wood and reeds, tied together with care, shaped to float gently rather than cut sharply through the water. Some are still. Others drift slightly, held by loose ropes that rise and fall with the movement of the river. A man stands in one of them. He does not move quickly. He adjusts a bundle placed carefully at his feet. The bundle is wrapped in cloth, its contents hidden, but known grain, perhaps, or tools, or simple goods that will be exchanged elsewhere. The man from the village pauses nearby. He watches. There is no urgency here. The river does not demand speed. It allows time. Another person steps into a boat. The movement is careful, balanced. The boat shifts slightly, then settles again. There is no sudden motion, no sharp sound. Everything remains quiet. A long pole is placed into the water. It presses gently against the riverbed. The boat moves slowly. Not with force, but with steady guidance. It drifts forward, carried partly by the current, partly by the quiet effort of the person guiding it. The man continues to walk along the bank. The ground here is softer, shaped by the presence of water. Reeds grow in clusters, their tall forms swaying slightly in the breeze. The sound they make is soft, like a whisper that never fully forms. Further along, a small gathering of people stands near the water. They are not crowded. They are spaced apart, each holding or placing small items. Baskets. Bundles. Clay vessels. Nothing large. Nothing heavy in appearance. But each item holds its place in the quiet exchange that happens here. The man steps closer. He does not join immediately. He observes. A woman places a small basket on the ground. Inside are vegetables, simple and fresh. Their shapes are uneven, their colors soft. They carry the scent of earth and growth. Another person sets down a small container. Inside, perhaps oil, or grain, or dried fish. The contents are not displayed loudly. They are known through familiarity, through repeated exchange over time. There is no loud bargaining. No raised voices. Only quiet conversation. Soft words. Slow gestures. A hand reaches out. An item is lifted. Examined briefly. Then replaced. Another is offered. There is no hurry to complete anything. The exchange unfolds gently, like the movement of the river beside them. The man brings forward a small bundle of his own. He places it down carefully. He does not announce it. He simply allows it to be seen. Another person notices. They step closer. They look. They nod slightly. A few quiet words pass between them. The man listens. He responds. The exchange happens without tension. One item is given. Another is received. There is no sense of gain or loss. Only a quiet balance. The items change hands. And with that, the moment is complete. No one lingers on it. No one counts or measures in a visible way. Trust has been built over many days, many exchanges, many repeated patterns. The man steps back. He holds what he has received. It is simple. But it is enough. Around him, the same quiet process continues. People arrive. They place their items. They exchange. They leave. The rhythm does not change. It flows gently, like everything else in this place. The boats continue to move along the river. Some arrive slowly. Others depart. Their paths are unhurried. They do not rush toward a destination. They move with the current, guided by steady hands and quiet intention. The man watches one boat drift away. Its shape grows smaller as it moves down the river, blending into the soft light and distant landscape. He turns back toward the village. The path feels familiar again beneath his feet. The ground, the air, the quiet presence of life all remain unchanged. He walks without haste. There is no need to return quickly. The day is long. And the work, whatever form it takes, will unfold in its own time. As he re-enters the village, the same calm pattern continues. People move along the paths. Children sit in shaded spaces. Hands continue their quiet tasks. Nothing feels different. Even after the small exchanges by the river, the rhythm remains steady. The man returns to his home. He places the item he received in a simple space. It will be used later. There is no need to act immediately. He sits. For a moment, he rests. The air moves gently through the doorway. The light shifts slowly across the floor. Time passes without being counted. Then, as always, he begins again. The afternoon unfolds. The warmth settles. The sounds soften. The movements slow. And eventually, the evening returns once more. The fire is lit. The meal is prepared. The family gathers. The same quiet circle. The same steady presence. The man eats. The day, though slightly different in its details, feels the same in its rhythm. Simple. Repetitive. Calm. Outside, the river continues its endless flow. Carrying small boats. Carrying quiet journeys. Connecting lives that move in the same slow and steady way. And as the night returns, everything settles again into stillness. The days pass, one into another, without sharp edges. Morning becomes afternoon. Afternoon becomes evening. Evening fades into night. And then, quietly, morning returns again. Within this steady flow, the people change slowly. Not in ways that can be seen from one day to the next. but in ways that unfold over many seasons, many cycles of the river, many repeated mornings and evenings. The man was once a child. He does not think of it often. But the memory is there, soft and distant, like a sound heard long ago. As a child, his days moved more slowly. Not because time was different, but because his role within it was lighter. He did not carry tools with the same purpose. He did not wake with the same quiet responsibility. He watched. He followed. He learned. In those early years, the world was shaped by observation. He sat close to others as they worked. He watched hands move across stone, wood, and earth. He saw how tools were held, how tasks were repeated, how small details mattered. No one hurried his learning. No one forced it into him. It arrived slowly, through presence, through repetition, through quiet imitation. He remembers sitting near the grinding stone, listening to its soft rhythm. He remembers walking beside older hands in the fields, his steps smaller, slower, but following the same path. He remembers the river, always there, always moving, always part of everything. As he grew, his role changed. Not suddenly. Not with a clear moment of transformation. But gradually. One day, he carried a small tool. Another day, he helped with a simple task. Then another day, he completed a task on his own. Each step was small. Each step was repeated. And over time, the repetition became his life. Now, he sees the same process unfolding around him. Children move quietly through the village. They sit close to their families. They watch. They listen. They try small actions with uncertain hands. A child kneels beside a woman shaping clay. The child presses gently into the soft surface, leaving a small mark. The shape is not perfect. It does not need to be. The woman does not correct immediately. She allows the moment to exist. Understanding comes slowly. Elsewhere, a young boy walks beside a man in the fields. He carries nothing at first. Then, one day, he carries something small. A bundle. A tool. His steps are careful. He watches where he places his feet. He observes every movement made beside him. The learning is quiet. It does not interrupt the rhythm. It becomes part of it. The man notices these children. He does not stop to guide them directly. He does not speak many instructions. He simply continues his work. And through that continuation, the children learn. Time moves forward. The children grow. Their movements become steadier. Their hands become more certain. Their roles become clearer. They wake with the same quiet awareness. They walk the same paths. They take part in the same cycles. And slowly, without any clear moment of change, they become what they have been observing. Workers. Caregivers. Participants in the same steady life. As the years pass, the man's body begins to change as well. Not suddenly. Not in a way that demands attention. But slowly, quietly, like everything else. His movements remain steady, but they become slightly slower. His steps remain sure, but they carry a deeper weight. He still wakes with the morning. He still follows the same patterns. But his role begins to shift, just as it did for those before him. He does not always go to the fields. He does not always carry the same tasks. Instead, he spends more time closer to home. Repairing. Shaping. Observing. Passing on what he knows, not through words alone, but through presence. He sits where others once sat. He works with tools in a slower, more careful way. He watches the younger ones move, just as he once did. There is no sadness in this change. No resistance. It is part of the rhythm. A continuation of the same cycle. The same pattern that has repeated across many lives. Around him, others follow similar paths. Those who were once children become workers. Those who were workers become guides. Those who were guides become quiet observers. And eventually, they return to the earth, as all things do. The man understands this. Not through deep thought, but through simple awareness. He has seen it happen. Again and again. The village holds these layers of life all at once. Children. Adults. The aged. Each moving at a slightly different pace, but within the same steady flow. No one is separate from the rhythm. Everyone belongs to it. The evening comes again. As it always does. The light softens. The air cools. The small fires are lit. The food is prepared. The man sits outside his home. He watches the sky change color. He hears the soft sounds of the village settling into its quiet evening pattern. A child sits nearby. Not the same child as before, but another, at a similar stage. Watching. Learning. Existing within the same gentle repetition. The man does not speak. He does not need to. The moment holds its own meaning. The child will grow. The cycle will continue. Nothing will change quickly. And nothing needs to. As night falls, the stars appear again. The river continues its endless movement. The village grows still. The man lies down. His body settles into the familiar place. His breathing slows. And as sleep comes, it does so gently, just as it always has. In this way, an entire life passes. Not through sudden events. Not through sharp changes. But through countless small moments, repeated again and again. Morning after morning. Day after day. Year after year. Until one day, the rhythm continues without him. And yet, in another way, it does not end. Because the pattern remains. Carried forward by others. Quietly. Steadily. Without interruption. The land breathes in slow, repeating cycles. Not in ways that are sudden or loud, but in long, gentle changes that unfold across many days and many seasons. These changes are felt more than they are seen. They arrive quietly, settle into the rhythm of life, and then slowly give way to something else. The man wakes as he always does. Morning light returns, soft and pale, touching the edges of the village and the surface of the river. The air feels familiar, but not exactly the same as it did before. There are small differences. Subtle shifts. The kind that do not interrupt the day, but quietly shape it. Some mornings feel cooler. The breeze moves more easily across the land, carrying with it a dry, open feeling. The air feels lighter, and the ground beneath his feet holds less moisture. On other mornings, the air feels heavier. It carries a softness, a slight weight that settles gently on the skin. The scent of water lingers more strongly, and the earth feels richer beneath each step. These changes do not come suddenly. They arrive slowly, almost without notice, becoming part of the day before anyone has time to think about them. The man steps outside. He pauses, just for a moment. The air touches his face differently today. He does not question it. He simply accepts it. This is how the land moves. Quietly. Gradually. There are days when the wind grows stronger. Not in a violent way, but in a steady, persistent motion that moves across the open land. It carries fine grains of sand, lifting them gently from the ground and sending them drifting through the air. The sky becomes softer, less clear. The light of the sun filters through a thin veil of dust, creating a muted glow that spreads across everything. The man walks through this with the same calm pace. He wraps his cloth slightly closer around his body, protecting his face and skin from the small, drifting grains. Each step feels familiar, even as the air shifts around him. The wind does not stop the work. It does not change the rhythm. It becomes part of it. The sounds of the village grow quieter on these days. Voices are softer. Movements are more contained. People remain closer to their homes or move through the open spaces with measured care. The wind passes. It always does. Not all at once. But slowly, just as it came. The air clears again. The light returns to its usual clarity. And the village continues, unchanged in its deeper rhythm. There are times when the river feels different as well. Its surface may rise slightly higher than expected, or move with a deeper, quieter strength beneath its calm appearance. The man notices these changes without naming them. He sees how the water touches the edges of the land. How it moves against the banks. How it reflects the sky in slightly altered ways. The river is never still. But it is always steady. Its moods are gentle. Its changes are slow. And the people adjust without resistance. They do not try to control it. They do not rush to respond. They simply observe, and then continue. The sun moves through its own quiet patterns. There are times when its warmth feels softer, more distant. The light spreads gently, without pressing too strongly against the skin. On other days, the heat feels closer, more present. It settles over the land with a steady weight, encouraging slower movement, longer moments of rest. The man does not fight this. He adjusts. He works more slowly. He pauses more often. He seeks shade when needed. These are not decisions made with effort. They are responses that come naturally, shaped by years of repetition. As the seasons pass, the colors of the land shift in quiet ways. The fields move from dark, rich soil to soft green growth. Then to warm gold. Then back again to rest. The sky changes its tone slightly, from pale blue to deeper shades, then back again. The air carries different scents at different times. Wet earth. Dry dust. Growing plants. Each one comes and goes without announcement. The man experiences all of this without separating it into parts. To him, it is one continuous flow. One long, unbroken pattern that moves slowly forward. There are evenings when the air feels especially calm. The breeze becomes almost still. The surface of the river smooths into a quiet mirror, reflecting the sky with gentle clarity. The village settles into a deeper silence. Sounds carry farther in the stillness. A soft voice from one home can be heard faintly from another. A small movement echoes slightly more than usual. The man sits outside during such an evening. He feels the stillness around him. It does not feel empty. It feels full in a quiet way. The absence of movement becomes its own presence. The sky above shifts slowly into darkness. The stars appear, one by one. The air cools. And the world feels balanced, as if everything has found its place. There are also nights when the wind returns. It moves softly at first, then with a little more strength. It passes through the village, brushing against the walls, the roofs, the ground. It carries the scent of distant places. Dry land. Open space. The man lies inside his home. He hears the wind, but it does not disturb him. It is part of the pattern. Part of the repeating life that surrounds him. He closes his eyes. Sleep comes slowly. The same as always. Through all these changes, life continues without interruption. The man wakes. He works. He rests. He sleeps. The children grow. The elders slow. The river flows. The land shifts gently. Nothing happens suddenly. Nothing breaks the rhythm. Even the changes feel repetitive. Predictable. Calm. As another day comes to an end, the man sits quietly. The light fades. The air cools. The familiar sounds return, then soften, then disappear. He breathes slowly. He does not think about the seasons as separate things. He does not measure the changes. He simply lives within them. And they pass around him, just as the days do. The night settles once more. The stars remain steady above. The river continues its quiet movement. And the cycle, always the same, prepares to begin again. The morning begins again, quietly, and without interruption. Light moves slowly across the village, touching the low walls, the narrow paths, and the open spaces where daily life unfolds. The air is cool for a short while, carrying a softness that will fade as the sun rises. Inside the home, before the day fully opens, the first small task begins. The preparation of food. It is not a single action. It is a long, repeating cycle that stretches across many hours, many days, and many seasons. Each part connects to another, forming a quiet chain of work that never truly ends. The man sits near the entrance. He watches as the morning begins to take shape within the home. A woman kneels beside a low grinding stone. It rests firmly on the ground, worn smooth by years of use. Its surface holds faint marks from countless mornings just like this one. Beside it lies a smaller stone, shaped to fit the hand. She places a small amount of grain onto the flat surface. The grain is dry, pale, and simple. She begins to move the smaller stone across it. Back and forth. Back and forth. The motion is slow and steady. It does not change. It does not pause. The sound it makes is soft, like a quiet whisper against the earth. It fills the space gently, repeating in a calm and even rhythm. The grain begins to break down. It becomes finer, softer, turning slowly into flour. This process takes time. It always does. There is no faster way. And there is no need for one. The man listens. The sound is familiar. It has been part of every morning for as long as he can remember. Nearby, a container sits against the wall. Inside it, more grain is stored. It has been kept carefully, protected from moisture, from pests, from waste. Each portion is used slowly, measured not by numbers, but by habit. The storage of food is as steady as its preparation. Nothing is taken in excess. Nothing is wasted. Each handful has its place in the cycle. As the grinding continues, the flour is gathered into a small pile. Water is added. Slowly. A little at a time. Hands begin to shape the mixture. Pressing. Folding. Turning. The dough forms gradually, changing from loose particles into something soft and connected. The movements are quiet. There is no force. Only gentle pressure. The man watches the hands. They move without hesitation. Each motion follows the last, guided by memory more than thought. The dough is shaped into simple rounds. Not perfectly even. Not exactly the same. But close enough. Each one carries the same purpose. Near the small fire, a flat surface has been prepared. It holds heat gently. The dough is placed upon it. There is a faint sound as it touches the warmth. A soft change begins. The surface dries slightly. The inside warms. The smell rises slowly into the air. It is warm. Familiar. Comforting in its sameness. The man breathes it in without noticing. It is simply part of the morning. While the bread cooks, other preparations begin. A clay pot is brought forward. It is simple, shaped by hand, its surface marked with small irregular lines. It has been used many times, holding the memory of past meals within its form. Water is poured into it. Then small pieces of vegetables. Nothing elaborate. Nothing rare. Just what has been gathered, stored, or exchanged. The pot is placed over the fire. The flame is low. It does not burn quickly. It warms slowly. The contents inside begin to change over time. There is no stirring in a hurried way. Only occasional movement. A gentle shift of the contents. A quiet adjustment. The man reaches for a small container. Inside, there may be a preserved food. Something dried. Something that has been kept from earlier days. He opens it slowly. The contents are simple. Perhaps dried fish. Perhaps small pieces of plant preserved through time. These are not used every day. But when they are, they bring a small variation to the meal. Not a strong change. Just a slight difference. Enough to be noticed, but not enough to disturb the rhythm. He sets it aside. It will be added later. Food here is not only prepared for the moment. It is part of a longer cycle. Some foods are eaten fresh. Others are stored. Others are preserved in simple ways, allowing them to last beyond their natural time. Drying is one of these ways. Under the sun, small pieces of food are left to lose their moisture. The process is slow. It takes many hours. Sometimes days. The heat of the sun does the work quietly. No one rushes it. The result is something that can be kept longer. Used later. Part of another meal, another day. Storage containers line parts of the home. Clay jars. Woven baskets. Each one holds something small. Grain. Dried plants. Prepared foods. They are opened carefully. Closed carefully. Handled with the same steady attention as everything else. The bread is ready. It is removed from the heat. Set aside to cool slightly. The surface is firm, but not hard. The inside is soft. The smell fills the space gently. The pot continues to warm. Steam rises slowly. The air carries the scent of simple cooking. The man remains still for a moment. He listens. The sounds are soft. The fire. The quiet movement of hands. The faint shift of food within the pot. Nothing is loud. Nothing demands attention. And yet, everything is present. Time passes. The meal comes together slowly. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is forced. When it is ready, it is ready. The family gathers. They sit close together. The same small circle. The same quiet presence. The bread is broken by hand. Shared. The contents of the pot are served into simple bowls. The preserved food is added in small amounts. Each piece has its place. The man eats slowly. Each bite is steady. There is no hurry. No need to finish quickly. The body receives what it needs. Nothing more. Nothing less. After the meal, the cycle continues. The remaining food is handled carefully. Nothing is left without purpose. What can be saved is saved. What cannot be saved is finished. The tools are cleaned. The surfaces are cleared. Each action is done slowly, without sharp movements. The man watches, then begins to assist. He moves in the same quiet way. He has done this many times. He will do it many more. As the day continues, the preparation of food does not fully end. It simply shifts. What was done in the morning prepares for the afternoon. What is done in the afternoon prepares for the evening. What is stored today will be used tomorrow. And what is grown in the fields will return here, again and again, in different forms. The cycle remains unbroken. Grain to flour. Flour to bread. Food to strength. Strength to work. Work to harvest. Harvest to storage. And back again. As evening approaches, the same process begins once more. Not exactly the same in every detail, but close enough that it feels unchanged. The man sits again. The fire glows softly. The air cools. The smell of food returns in its familiar way. And the quiet rhythm of life continues, steady and unending. The day opens once more with a soft and steady light. It settles gently across the village, touching the walls, the ground, and the quiet spaces where people begin their work again. The air is calm, carrying only the faint sounds of movement that slowly grow as morning unfolds. The man sits near the entrance of his home. In front of him, laid out with quiet care, are the tools he uses each day. They are simple. Nothing about them is sudden or complex. Each one has been shaped slowly, adjusted over time, and used again and again until it feels like a natural extension of the hand. He reaches for one. A wooden handle, smooth from years of contact. The surface holds small marks, worn into it by repeated use. These marks are not sharp. They are soft, blended into the shape, part of its quiet history. He turns it slightly. His fingers move across it without thought. He knows every part of it. Not by studying it, but by holding it, day after day, year after year. Attached to it is a blade. Not perfectly even. Not perfectly straight. But sharp enough. Enough to do what is needed. He places it down gently. Next to it lies another tool. This one made of stone, shaped by careful strikes long ago. Its edges are rounded now, softened by time. It is heavier in the hand, but balanced in a way that feels natural. He lifts it, feels its weight, then sets it back. Each tool has its place. Each place is known. There is no confusion. There is no searching. Only quiet familiarity. He begins his work. There is no clear beginning. No moment when everything suddenly starts. He simply moves. His hands take hold of a material. Perhaps wood. Perhaps fiber. Perhaps clay. The texture changes depending on what is being shaped, but the rhythm remains the same. Slow. Steady. Repetitive. He presses. He scrapes. He smooths. Each motion is small. None are wasted. There is no force beyond what is needed. The material responds gradually. Wood gives slightly under pressure. Fiber bends and tightens. Clay shifts and holds its new form. The man does not hurry these changes. He allows them. He works with them, not against them. Nearby, another person works with a different material. Reeds are gathered in small bundles. They are long and thin, flexible but strong. The person holds several at once, aligning them carefully. Then begins to weave. Over. Under. Over. Under. The pattern repeats. It does not change. Each movement follows the last in a quiet sequence that continues without interruption. The shape begins to form. Slowly. At first, it is flat. Then it curves slightly. Then more. The basket grows, not through large actions, but through many small ones, each nearly identical to the one before. The hands do not rush. They do not pause without reason. They simply continue. The man returns his attention to his own work. He uses the blade now. Gently. Carefully. He removes small pieces from the material in front of him. Not large cuts. Only thin layers. Each pass changes the shape slightly, bringing it closer to what is needed. He pauses. Looks. Not for long. Just enough to understand. Then continues. The tool moves again. The same angle. The same pressure. The same motion. Again. And again. The air in the space is quiet. The sounds are soft. The scrape of blade against wood. The faint movement of fiber being pulled tight. The gentle press of hands against clay. None of these sounds stand out. They blend together into a steady background, a quiet rhythm that fills the space without disturbing it. The man breathes slowly. His body moves in time with his work. There is no tension. No urgency. Only repetition. Time passes without notice. The light shifts gradually, moving from one side of the room to another, changing the way shadows fall across the tools and materials. The man does not track this change. He does not need to. It happens whether he watches or not. He sets one piece aside. It is not finished, but it is ready for the next stage. He reaches for another. The process begins again. The same movements. The same care. The same steady rhythm. Nothing feels new. Nothing needs to. Outside, the village continues its quiet life. People move along the paths, carrying small items, completing simple tasks. Their movements reflect the same patterns seen inside. Slow. Even. Unhurried. Children sit nearby. They watch. They touch small materials with uncertain hands. They try to imitate the motions they see. Their movements are less steady, less certain, but they repeat. And through repetition, they begin to understand. The man notices this without stopping his work. He does not give instruction in words. He gives it through action, through consistency, through the steady continuation of what he does. The children learn by seeing, by repeating, by becoming part of the same rhythm. The hours pass. The warmth of the day increases, then settles. The man's movements slow slightly, not from fatigue alone, but from the natural response to the heat. He pauses. He sets the tool down. He rests his hands. He looks at the work before him. There is no strong feeling of completion. only a quiet sense that something has taken shape, and that more will follow. He reaches for a cloth, wipes his hands slowly, removes small traces of dust, of fiber, of clay. The action is gentle, not rushed. Then he returns. The tool is lifted again. The work continues. Each object made here carries the same quiet history. It is not created in a moment. It is formed over time. Through many small actions. Through steady repetition. And once it is finished, it does not stand apart. It becomes part of daily life. Used. Handled. Worn. Until it, too, begins to change. And eventually, it returns to the cycle. Repaired. Reshaped. Or replaced by another made in the same slow and steady way. As the day moves toward evening, the man places his tools aside. Not because the work is done, but because it is enough for now. The light softens. The air cools. The same quiet transition begins. He steps outside. The village feels familiar. Unchanged. The same paths. The same homes. The same slow movement of life. Inside, the evening preparations begin again. Food. Fire. Quiet gathering. The tools remain where they are. They will be used again tomorrow. In the same way. With the same steady hands. The man sits. The day fades. The rhythm continues. And nothing feels different. The evening does not arrive suddenly. It comes slowly, the way everything here tends to come. Light softens first, then begins to thin across the land. Shadows stretch outward, long and quiet, touching the edges of paths, walls, and fields. The warmth of the day fades without resistance, as if the land is simply releasing it back into the air. The man sits outside his home. He does not speak. He listens. At first, there is still the memory of daytime sound. Small movements. Soft footsteps. The faint shifting of people returning to their homes. But even these begin to slow, one by one, like ripples settling in still water. The village does not become silent all at once. It becomes quiet in layers. First the distant work ends. Then the closer movements fade. Then even the smallest sounds begin to soften. The man notices this without needing to think about it. He has felt it many times. The air changes first. It cools. It becomes lighter against the skin. The weight of the sun is gone, replaced by a gentler stillness that spreads through everything it touches. A faint sound rises from somewhere near the river. Not loud. Not sharp. Just the steady movement of water continuing its path. It never stops. Even when everything else grows still. The man breathes slowly. The air carries new textures now. The scent of earth cooling after heat. The faint smell of cooking fires beginning to burn. A distant trace of plants, dry and warm from the day. These scents do not come all at once. They arrive in small waves, each one subtle, each one blending into the next. Around him, the village continues its slow transition into night. A door closes softly. A bowl is placed down. A quiet voice speaks briefly, then fades. The sounds are small enough that they almost feel like part of the air itself. Not separate. Just present. As darkness begins to form, new sounds appear. Not from people, but from the land itself. Insects begin their quiet presence. A steady rhythm of small life that fills the spaces between human silence. It is not a single sound. It is many. Layered together. Constant but never harsh. The man does not focus on it. He simply allows it to exist. It becomes part of the night, just as the river becomes part of the day. From a distance, a dog moves slowly across a path. Its footsteps are soft against the ground. It pauses. Listens. Then continues. Even animals here follow the rhythm of quiet hours. There is no urgency in their movement. Only awareness. The fire inside the home glows gently. It does not roar. It does not demand attention. It simply burns at a steady pace, casting soft light across the walls. The man steps inside. The transition from outside to inside feels smooth. Not like entering a different world, but like moving deeper into the same one. The air is slightly warmer here. Contained. Calm. Familiar. His family is already gathered. Not crowded. Not arranged formally. Just present. Each person moving in small, simple ways. Preparing for the final part of the day. Food is shared. Slowly. Quietly. The sound of chewing, of small movements, of cloth shifting against skin fills the space gently. Nothing interrupts it. Nothing breaks it. Outside, the insects continue their steady presence. Inside, the fire continues its quiet glow. Between them, the night holds everything together. After the meal, there is even less movement. People remain seated for a while. Not speaking much. Not doing much. Just resting in the transition between action and sleep. The man sits with his back against the wall. The surface is cool and solid. It supports him without effort. His body begins to relax. Not suddenly, but gradually. Like the village itself. Like the land. Like the river. Time feels less defined in moments like this. There is no clear separation between 1 minute and the next. Only a slow continuation of stillness. Outside, the night deepens. The sky changes fully now. The last traces of light disappear from the horizon. Stars appear one by one. Not rushing. Not arriving together. Each one joining the sky in its own quiet moment. The man looks out briefly. Then lowers his gaze. He does not count them. He does not follow them. He simply observes their presence. Constant. Distant. Unmoving in appearance, though always part of motion beyond what is seen. The sounds of the night become clearer. The insects continue. A faint movement in the river continues. A soft rustle of wind passes through reeds. But even these sounds do not disturb the silence. They are part of it. The silence is not empty. It is full in a quiet way. Full of small, steady life. The man lies down. His body settles into the familiar resting place. The surface beneath him is unchanged from the night before. And the night before that. His breathing slows. The sounds around him fade slightly in perception, though they continue to exist. The fire burns lower. The village becomes still. Not frozen. Not absent. Just resting in its own rhythm. Sleep comes gently. Not as an event, but as a soft fading of awareness. The man does not feel the moment it begins. Only the gradual disappearance of thought. The steady slowing of breath. The release of the day. Outside, the river continues. The insects continue. The stars remain. The land breathes in its slow cycle of night. And everything returns once more to quiet repetition. The night does not feel like an ending here. It feels like a space between breaths. A long, steady pause where everything continues, but more quietly. The man sleeps, and time moves without him noticing. Not quickly. Not slowly. Just steadily, in the way it always has. Above him, the stars remain in their places. They do not change in a way the eye can easily see. They only continue their distant motion, as they always do. Below them, the village rests. Not empty. Not still in the sense of absence. But quiet in the sense of completion. A moment where nothing is required. And so nothing is done. Memory in this place does not feel like something held tightly. It feels more like something spread across time. The man does not remember his life in sharp pieces. He does not think of it as separate moments. Instead, it feels like one long continuity. A flow. Morning blending into morning. Evening into evening. Season into season. The boundaries are soft. The edges are not clear. Even when he thinks back, it is not a single event that comes forward. It is the feeling of many days layered together. The sound of water. The weight of tools in his hands. The warmth of the sun on the fields. The quiet rhythm of work repeated without change. These things are not separate memories. They are one memory, stretched across time. As years pass, the land itself seems to carry memory in the same way. The river remembers its path. Not in thought, but in movement. It flows where it has always flowed. It rises and falls in patterns that feel familiar, even if no one speaks of them as such. The fields remember where water has touched them before. They soften in the same places. They grow in the same cycles. They rest in the same quiet seasons. Even the paths between homes become memories in the earth. Footsteps pressed again and again until the ground itself feels shaped by repetition. Nothing is written. But everything is remembered. The man, as he ages, begins to notice this in a quieter way. Not as a thought, but as a feeling. The rhythm of life does not change, but his place within it becomes softer. He moves a little slower. He rests a little more often. Not because something is wrong, but because the cycle allows it. There is space within repetition for slowing down. Just as there was once space for learning. And before that, for strength. And before that, for growth. Now, there is space for stillness. He sits more often outside his home. Not with purpose, but with presence. He watches the same paths he once walked quickly. He sees younger figures moving through them with the same steady rhythm he once held. There is no separation between his life and theirs. Only position within the same cycle. A cycle that continues without needing explanation. Sometimes, in the quiet of the afternoon, he listens more deeply than before. Not to words, but to the layers of sound around him. The distant river. The soft movement of wind. The faint activity of the village continuing its work. He notices how these sounds have always been there. Even when he was too busy to hear them. They were never absent. Only unnoticed. Time in this place does not feel like something that moves forward in a straight line. It feels like something that returns. Not in exact repetition, but in familiar shape. Each day resembles the last, yet is not identical. Each season follows the same pattern, yet carries slight differences. Each life mirrors those before it, yet still belongs to the present moment. The man does not think about this deeply. He simply lives it. there are moments when the wind moves differently across the land. Not strongly. Just enough to be felt. It passes through the village, across the river, over the fields. And in that movement, there is a sense of connection. As if everything is part of the same breathing system. In and out. Rise and fall. Change and return. As evening approaches again, the light softens once more. The man sits near his home. The same place. The same position. The same quiet view of the village settling into rest. He does not mark time by days anymore. He marks it by feeling. By rhythm. By the gentle return of familiar patterns. The fire is lit. The meal is prepared. The sounds of evening return in their usual order. Slow. Gentle. Unchanging. And yet never exactly the same. The man lies down again as night arrives. His body follows the same path it always has. Rest. Stillness. Breathing that slows without effort. Above him, the sky opens again into darkness. Below him, the land continues its quiet existence. And within him, there is no sense of beginning or ending. Only continuation. The world does not conclude here. It does not reach a final point. It simply continues in its slow and steady way. Like water moving through earth. Like wind passing over fields. Like time repeating itself without announcement. And so the night remains. Soft. Wide. Unbroken. The night feels deeper now, not because it has changed, but because everything has settled fully into it. The village is quiet in the way it always becomes when nothing more is needed from the day. No tasks remain unfinished in any urgent sense. Nothing calls for attention. Even thought itself seems to slow, as if it is choosing to rest along with the body. The man lies still. His breathing is steady. Not controlled. Not observed. Just present. The same rhythm that has carried him through every morning, every afternoon, every evening, now carries him into sleep again. Time, in this moment, feels less like something that moves and more like something that surrounds everything at once. The river continues its path without hesitation. It does not remember where it has been, and it does not wait for where it is going. It simply flows. The fields rest in darkness, holding the memory of growth that will return again. The paths between homes remain faintly visible under the night sky, shaped by countless quiet footsteps that no longer need to be seen. Everything is in its place. Not arranged. Not forced. Just formed through repetition. The man's life, when seen from a distance, would not appear as a series of dramatic moments. It would not stand out in sharp images or sudden changes. It would appear instead as a long and steady line of repeating days. Waking. Working. Eating. Resting. Sleeping. Again. And again. Each cycle nearly the same as the one before it, yet never truly identical. Small variations exist, but they do not break the flow. They are absorbed into it. Like water adjusting around stones in a riverbed. In his earliest days, everything felt larger. The world was wider, not in space, but in attention. Every sound felt new. Every task felt separate. Every moment seemed to stand alone. But over time, those moments softened into one another. Edges faded. Separation disappeared. And life became something continuous. Not a collection of events. But a single, long unfolding. Now, even sleep feels like part of that unfolding. It does not feel like an end to the day. It feels like a return to something familiar. A pause that is always temporary. A silence that always gives way again. Not abruptly. Not suddenly. But gently. Above the sleeping village, the stars remain. They do not change in a way the eye can measure. They simply continue their distant presence, as they always have. They are part of the same quiet system that includes river, land, wind, and life. Everything moving in its own way. Everything connected through repetition. The man's body rests deeply now. The weight of the day has fully released. There is no awareness of time passing. Only stillness. Only quiet continuity. And in this continuity, nothing truly stops. The river will still move when morning returns. The wind will still pass through reeds. The sun will rise again over the same land. The village will wake again in the same soft way. Hands will return to tools. Water will be gathered. Bread will be made. Paths will be walked. Lives will continue. Not because something is driving them forward, but because this is how they have always been. A pattern without beginning. A rhythm without conclusion. A life without sharp edges. And so, as the night remains steady and wide, everything simply continues. Not toward an ending. Not away from a beginning. But within itself. Soft. Repetitive. Endless in its quiet way. And gently, like breath fading into sleep, the story becomes still. And so the long, quiet life of ancient Egypt settles into its final stillness within this telling. Not as a dramatic ending, and not as a final moment that stands apart, but as a gentle closing of a rhythm that never truly stopped. A rhythm made of mornings that always returned, work that always repeated, water that always moved, and people who always lived within the same steady flow of land and time. The river continues beyond this story. The sun still rises over the same earth. And the small, ordinary acts of life, washing, walking, building, resting, keep unfolding, one after another, as they always have. Nothing here was ever separate from the next moment. Everything was part of the same long, unbroken cycle. And now, as this telling fades, there is only quiet left. Not emptiness. Just calm continuation. Like a breath that slowly lets go. And remains still.